This is my persuasive speech, and here's my audience members. $10.8 billion. Most people across the country cannot even begin to fathom this amount of money. According to USA Today, in 2010, the NCAA announced that it had reached a 14-year agreement worth $10.8 billion with CBS and Turner Sports for the TV rights to the NCAA men's 68-team basketball tournament, or better known as March Madness. In 2008, ESPN and the Southeastern Conference, or SEC, reached a TV deal worth $2 billion over 15 years. For the fiscal year that ended in 2013, the Big Ten Conference made over $300 million, according to Forbes. The top 10 highest paid college football coaches each make over $3 million a year, and the top 10 highest paid college basketball coaches make over $2 million a year, according to USA Today. These insane amounts of money continue to grow every single year. Universities are being paid, athletic directors are being paid, coaches are being paid, and the question is, where is all this money coming from? The answer to that question is the student athletes. These football players and basketball players, among others, are the ones who are responsible year in and year out for lining the deep pockets of the NCAA and colleges across the country. The reason these billion-dollar TV contracts are being signed, the reason that the coaches and athletic directors make millions a year, and the reason that the NCAA even exists to make money is because of one simple reason: the players. The next question is, how much are these players being paid? The answer: absolutely nothing. These players are the ones who generate all of the revenue but see zero return, despite the fact that every time they step out onto the gridiron, field, or the rink, they are risking further injury for their potential future professional career. The solution is very simple. College athletes should be paid. That does not necessarily mean what everyone thinks, though. These college athletes should not be paid like professionals, raking in signing bonuses, making millions, and spending millions. But it does mean that college athletes should be getting something in return for their efforts on the field. Many argue they're getting a free education. Well, yes, this is true. That free education is really only a one-year renewable agreement. Furthermore, if you consider the aforementioned numbers I presented, it is clear that college athletes who brought in the revenue deserve some sort of compensation. To be able to explore why these athletes should be paid, I will explain how college athletes are not just regular college students, and show that payment should decrease scandals across the collegiate landscape. I feel it is important for you to understand how far these scholarships truly go for college athletes and what being part of a team in college really entails. It seems like there's a huge disconnect. Athletic programs bring in millions, while players who bring in these millions live as regular college students. Just like every other broke college student, these players have little to no money after their scholarship checks cover tuition, housing, university expenses and fees, meal plans, and textbooks. But the thing is, these student athletes are not just regular college students in any other aspect. They have mandatory study halls, they have 2-a-days or 3-a-days, they have curfews, they do not get holiday breaks if they make the postseason. All on top of being a regular student and going to class. These practices are not just in season either, it's year-round. What makes the gap so significant is that everything about college sports has increased. Ticket prices, stadium sizes, and the continual improvements they make. Salaries for the ADs and coaches. Everything at these universities has increased except the player compensation, which still does not exist. This point was further reaffirmed in an excerpt from an article in the Huffington Post, in which the writer said, contrary to all the opponents believe, being an athlete is a full-time job. On a typical day, a player will wake up before class, get a lift or conditioning session in, go to class until 3 or 4 p.m., then continue to practice, followed by a mandatory study hall, and finish homework or study for a test. For a little extra money to go see a movie or to go out to dinner once a week, my freshman roommate worked a job at the university earning about $7 an hour. He worked his butt off all day, with 2 or sometimes 3 basketball training sessions, plus class and of course homework. And then he had to go to a job for a few hours late at night. He would come back exhausted, but needed whatever money he could get. However, once the season started, he couldn't work. that job anymore. We were on the road all the time, even gone for 2 straight weeks at a time. The teachers let us do our work from the road, but the job wasn't going to pay you, just because you were playing basketball on a road trip. The team gave us meal money, only about $7 a meal, so we could get chips and condiments with our sandwiches. But anything else was considered an NCAA violation. The point of this is that a scholarship doesn't equal cash in a player's pocket. Even with any type of scholarship, college athletes are typically dead broke. I'm not saying players should be paid $10,000 or $20,000 a semester, but if an athlete each received maybe a $2,000 or $3,000 stipend a semester, which is approximately what I've spent in my college career, this would give them an opportunity to have some spending money and an opportunity to start managing the money also. There's another big reason college athletes should get paid. Since these players are not being compensated at all with any sort of stipend, they resort to trying to earn extra money on the side, resulting in punishment for themselves and their programs. A major example of this was with the Ohio State postseason ban in 2011. The Buckeyes went a perfect 12-0 under their new coach, but were banned from the postseason altogether because of players like their previous quarterback, Terrell Pryor, who exchanged memorabilia for an amount of money of $3,000. According to an interview with ESPN, Pryor said, though, the reason why I did this was to pay my mother's gas bill and some of her rent. Pryor told Sports Illustrated she has 4 months behind rent, and the landlord was so nice because he was an Ohio State fan. My son will pay you back sometime if you just let me pay you during my work sessions. She ended up losing her job, and she and Pryor's sister lived there. Let me remind you, it was freezing cold in November, December, and she's using an oven to heat the house. That's what I did as a kid. I was telling the NCAA, please, anything you can do. I gave my mother this so my sister wouldn't be cold, so my mother wouldn't be cold. They didn't have any sympathy for me at all. There are many examples like this, of the players who are just in need but have nowhere to turn at all. According to the NCAA.com, Rule Number 2, Section A, Bylaw 12.1.2, you are not eligible for participation in a sport if you have ever taken or the promise of pay for competing in that sport. As a result, players lose all of their eligibility, and programs also receive sanctions like the Ohio State postseason ban. Through the understanding why these college athletes are not just normal students in the typical sense, and the extra demands they have, and how fairly compensating them can protect their reputation, along with their universities, we can all have a better understanding of how and why they truly deserve to be paid, even if some small amount. So the next time you sit down to watch a college basketball or football game, just think about who's actually bringing in all that money, and more importantly, where that money is going. Thank you.
Oh, he's so good!